Hello and welcome back to the Go-Karts and Good Times YouTube channel. Today I want to get the ball rolling on the VTR 250 and take a look at the parts I got at the junkyard. You can see here I grabbed a bunch of bits and pieces whether I needed them or not. To start off, I grabbed some kind of connector block, a fuse panel, and an ignition switch. I even bothered with random bits and pieces like counters, nuts and bolts, or springs that may be hard to find online. Stuff like these suspension components may not have been necessary, but they're nice to have considering I can paint or powder coat them and then replace them for the rusty ones on the bike. While I'm not sure if they work, this set of coils was another interesting find. Even something that works just fine on my bike like a cluster may be nice to have down the road if I ever need to replace mine or need parts for mine. Same thing goes for the radiator here, even though it's a little bit pricey. And an extra piece of exhaust manifold that makes me less afraid to cut up mine or modify it. Even some cables in decent condition can go a long way. Even though an aftermarket shock or carburetors can be found online and adapted, it's still nice to have these OEM pieces. The most exciting find, however, is a tank that looks like it may be in better condition than mine. My first order of business will be drilling out the lock on this tank to see inside if it's worth saving. Trying something new, I want to use electricity to eat away at the rust inside the tank. I'm no expert, but I think I'm ready. If you were to do this yourself, you'd want two metal rods that were longer than the level of the water, and you'd want them at opposite ends of whatever container you're using and not touching. One of them must make contact with the tank directly, but the other one should not. After touching my power source, all I have to do is wait. I wanted to do today was continue turning the bike down so I can work on other parts of it while I'm waiting for the tank. Now let's see what this filter looks like after sitting for years. Brand new. This honestly looks like someone just replaced it before they put the bike away. I don't want to tear the whole bike apart, but I'm going to have to take off quite a few parts. I'm sad to see one of the screws missing here now because if I had known it was missing, I would have picked it up at the junkyard. Unfortunately, the screws holding the plenum to the top of the carburetors are a little bit jammed and the head's a little bit stripped. So I'm going to try using this magic tool to get them out. Even though it's not the right battery, I decided to hook one up just for the heck of it. For the most part, as you can see, everything works electrically, and this makes me want to turn the engine over. It's a good thing I grabbed that other radiator because it appears this one has a puncture. Before I go swapping parts out, I've got all the holes sealed up and I'm going to take off the fan so I can pressure adjust this radiator. After sitting for a couple of hours, it doesn't look like it's doing much, but it does look like it's doing something. Remember, this water was clean when I put it in the bucket. As the sun goes down, it's time to pick up for the day. Off camera, I switched to a slightly larger setup and let it run all night. It looks like it's really putting in work, and I'm going to let it run while I'm at school. After round one, it appears that almost all of the rust on the outside of the tank is gone, but there's still tons of it inside, so I'm filling the tub up for round two. Day two, the process continues to put in work. I've got it all set up for round three, but this time, I'm going to throw the radiator in. Curiously enough, after taking another look at the tank, it looks like someone already tried to coat it. I knew that the exterior was painted, but I had no clue there was already a coating on the inside. The other interesting detail was these welds and this brazing on the brackets to hold the tank. I'm not sure what happened to this thing, but it appeared to live a hard life, and even though there were repairs made in the past, it is in better condition than the other tank. After multiple days of use, I'm done with the corrosion removal bath. And taking a look at the radiator, which was only in there for a day, the areas around the filler neck, they were corroded, had the paint eaten off by the solution. Also, after scrubbing and drying it off, I can tell that there are no leaks. Another exciting addition to my junk collection is this Polaris 500, which I picked up the other day. Being from 1971, the Makunis on this engine are very crusty, and it has points of condensers, which I have never messed with. While I have no clue about the conditions of the torque converter, we are only getting spark from one of the coils. Eventually, I'd like this thing to go on my go-kart, but that is a project for the future. An update on the mini bike. Last time I rode it, the rear tire exploded, but I expected this. So I ordered spacers to make the two-piece rim wider and a tire in the mail. The real reason I'm in the garage today, however, is to get these carburetors off and soaking in a cleaning solution. With both carburetors accessible, the one from the motorcycle being on the left and the one from the Junkyard being on the right, it actually appears that the ones from the Junkyard look a lot cleaner on some parts. Another unfortunate discovery I made is that the choke cable from the motorcycle is seized. With one set of carburetors fully disassembled, I can start putting parts in the curb cleaner. After sitting for 24 hours, I'm ready to take them out and start scrubbing. After a little bit of scrubbing, these look a lot nicer than when I took them out. Before I start cleaning these other parts, I'm going to break open the Junkyard carburetors to see if their internals are nicer and I can swap parts between the two sets. With both sets of carburetors now disassembled, it seems that the Junkyard set had a little bit more crud from gas in them, but was much cleaner on the inside, lacking much of the corrosion that the set that came with my motorcycle had. Take for example these parts. This is the butterfly that came on the carburetor that came with my bike, and this is the one that's from the Junkyard. Or these parts, which don't look that bad, but compared to what came on the carburetors from the Junkyard, they pale in comparison. Both with their respective issues, I'm going to give the Junkyard carburetors the same treatment I gave mine and let them soak overnight. After letting them sit for nearly 24 hours, this set of carburetors is ready to be cleaned just like the other ones. With the carburetor scrub, they look a lot better. Far from perfect, but I think they're good enough. Now I can blow them out and then select which set of parts I want to use for the carburetors. Being honest about what I actually have here, there's a lot of back and forth. For example, with the float bowls, I'm probably going to use the float from the first set of carburetors, but then I'm going to use the bowl from the second because they have less corrosion. Or with these, the interior of the metal from the first set is a lot nicer than the other set, but the outside is a lot worse on the other set. So I'll have to pick and choose which is better and which is going to be easier to clean up. Longevity of a part like this, option A had a nicer outside but a much worse inside. Option B had an immaculate inside but a rusted outside, which I polished on the wire wheel. I'm most likely going to end up painting the exterior and polishing the inside to keep it from corroding. Initially, I thought I was only going to show the reassembly process for one carburetor, but with pieces scattered everywhere and paint drying, I think I'll capture the entire process via time lapse. Some parts like these butterflies need to be polished rather than painted, and parts like this arm here I deemed in good enough condition not to need paint. While paint is drying, instead of just finishing the rear carburetor, I will move on to the front one. For my first time really doing something like this, it really wasn't that bad. Even though I didn't have much of an instruction manual and there are still a couple extra little tiny pieces in the kit I got, everything seems like it's where it should be and it seems like it'll function fine. As it is, I don't see any issues, but the real test will be putting it on the bike and trying to start it up. In coming videos, I hope to address the bike's major issues, the rusty exhaust tank and the dismantled exhaust. I also want to address the little things, like frame rust here and there, missing hardware, or any other aesthetic mods I want to do. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you liked, commented, or even subscribed. And hopefully, being stuck at home, I'll be able to put out more videos. But for now, I hope everybody is staying safe, healthy, and isolated to help combat the virus.